Hi, this is Kelly from 12 Plus Me and You, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Danish-style bread basket. And when I say Danish, I mean as in from Denmark, not the cute little pastry, which in fact you could probably put those pastries in this bread basket and it would work out just fine if you'd like. I actually have this tutorial already on my blog, 12plusmeandyou.blogspot.com. But that's for Christmas ones. They're actually different dimensions, but it's the same thing I'm going to be doing again. What you'll need is you'll need an inner fabric, an outer fabric, and then you'll need some fusible webbing. And I went ahead and got this Heat and Bond fusible interfacing. It says for jackets and waistbands, but it's fine. You want something that's kind of thick that will stand up on its own. The way that you make this bread basket, it will stand up on its own, but there's that possibility of collapsing just because you're making it with cloth. So I would recommend using the heavyweight. This is in a package of 20 inches by 1 yard, which you're not going to use that much. And it all depends on how much you're going to use. I've used a Danish pattern from Stof and Steel, which is a Danish fabric store. And I've translated the directions on my blog, but I'll go through them with you again. So what I have here is, this is my fabric. It's actually kind of thicker fabric. It is almost feels like a tablecloth fabric. It's cotton, but it's some type of blend because again it's thicker. And it's the color that I wanted. The pattern seems to be kind of an everyday pattern, so that would work for me. But I really like how the fabric is thicker. It's not just your basic cotton fabric. It's got a little bit more sturdiness to it, so I think that would actually help. So I went ahead and cut 2 pieces because I'm going to have the inner of my basket be the same as the outer of my basket. If you notice, it's pretty much the same on both sides, so that's good. The only issue is that when you're cutting something like with checkers, you want to make sure that you're not cutting kind of at an angle. You want to make sure you're cutting on one of the actual lines that you have. And I just took the size of the fabric that I had because I was using some scraps from my mother's quilting stash because, yeah, I don't need to go out and buy stuff. It's just an everyday bread basket. And when you look at my blog, you'll notice that the measurements are all in centimeters because it's a European pattern. And again, I've gone ahead and done the conversions for you. But there's 2 different bread baskets. One is roughly 40 by 48 centimeters, and the other one is 40 by 40 centimeters, depending on if you want a square or rectangle. With this one, it's going to be a rectangle. And what I did was a little bit of math. I did the 40 centimeters over 48 centimeters, and then timesed it by what I had here. And actually, I didn't want to go any shorter than this. I mean, I think I cut this part down. So I went ahead and figured out, okay, I have about 13 inches or so. Well, 13, what is that in centimeters? So I had to go on to an online converter to figure out what 13 centimeters was, or 13 inches was in centimeters. And then I did the little math equation to figure out what it would come to. So 40 by 40 is roughly 16 by 16 centimeters, and I knew I didn't have that, so I wanted to still make it proportionate. So I went ahead and did the math and cut it. So this one is actually 13 by 15 and a half. So it's not going to be a huge bread basket. For a family of 4, that's fine. For a European table, if you're going to be sharing, especially with Christmas, the ones that I made were 16 by 16 inches, and I made 2 of them for my table because of the amount of people going to be at our house for the holidays. So I think that was perfect. but a smaller one I think will be just fine for us because, again, we're only 4 people. And we don't eat bread as much as the Europeans do. And then also you want to make sure that you cut your fusible interfacing the same size. And for whatever reason, I must have had other projects. I didn't really want to go out and buy a whole new one of these. I just went ahead and cut 2 pieces that would fit over this, just to save some money there and to actually use what I have in my stash. So I'm going to go ahead and separate these, and then I will show you the next step. Okay, and now we're moving on to step 2. So you're going to take one of your pieces of fabric, and what you're going to do is take your fusible interfacing and read the directions on the back. It will tell you what you need to do, the setting that you'll need your iron to be set at, and as well as really how to do this. But you're going to be taking the rough side of the interfacing and putting it down to the wrong side of your fabric. And when you look at mine, you think, well, that doesn't really look like the wrong side. Well, again, mine is the same on both sides, so I could just choose which side to use. So the rough side of the interfacing onto the wrong side of the fabric. And you don't want to just iron right on that. You want to put a cloth down. So it says just a light, dry cloth, and I just pick a piece of scrap fabric that I have. So you'll just be taking this, and again, follow the directions. It says press and hold iron with medium pressure for 10 to 15 seconds. Repeat by lifting iron to a new area and pressing, lightly overlapping previous area until entire surface is bonded. So I'm just going to do this. Of course, once I get done with this section, I will move my scrap piece to the other area, and then I will keep going until it's all attached, and it will almost be like it was glued down when I'm all done. Okay, now moving on to step 3, I've gone ahead and pressed it with a iron, and as you can see, it's attached. It's not going anywhere. And what I'm going to do now is take this. So again, on this side, it's the right side, and then this side, I guess, is the wrong side of the back. And you're going to take the right sides, and you're just going to put them together. And then you're going to pin it all the way around. This is a sewing project. So you're going to be pinning it all the way around, except for maybe about 3 inches you want to leave about 3 inches open, not on an edge. It's never a good idea. Somewhere kind of in the middle, but 3 inches you want to leave open. So, you know, maybe put your pins a different way so you know that that is the start and end point. And what you're going to do then is you are just going to sew it together all the way around from beginning, back stitch, all the way around, and then once you get to that end pin, then you're going to back stitch again. Okay, so as you can see, I've gone ahead and pinned all the way around, and what I did when I came to that 3 inches that I want to leave open, I have this pin upside down, so just so it gives me a visual of this is where I'm going to stop, start, pay attention. And so you want to make sure that your thread, top and bottom, matches your fabric, and I chose white, so there's no problems there. And I can't do this with one hand, so I'm just going to go ahead and sew. I'm going to sew pretty close, so the 1/4 inch mark, and I'm going to sew the 1/4 inch mark there, and go all the way around. And once you've done that, then we're ready for the next step. Okay, so at this point you've gone ahead and you've sewn it all the way around with your sewing machine, about 1/4 inch all the way around. And again, if you use a pattern kind of like this, it's easier just to kind of follow along a certain spot, maybe the middle actually of this blue. And what you're going to do next is you're going to cut your corners. You're going to take your scissors and you're just going to kind of smooth this around. You want to be really careful not to cut the thread that you just put into the two pieces of fabric. So you're just going to cut the edge off so it's not straight, and that way when you flip it, it'll look a lot nicer. So grab your scissors, and that's the next step. Okay, I've gone ahead and trimmed my corners, so as you can see, it's just, just a little trim of the edge. And I went ahead and took the pins out, because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to flip it. So once you flip it so that way, the inside is on the inside, then you're going to iron it. So you want to make sure you have your iron plugged back in. Okay, and I figured if you are new to sewing, that you don't really know a whole lot, maybe about what it's supposed to look like. You want to be very careful not to break the stitching. It's good to kind of get those corners first. You could always take a pencil and kind of push that corner out, so you see what I'm showing you here. If you wouldn't have had that cut, it would have been all bunched up and stuff in there. So you're just going to kind of push it out. You're going to do that all the way around. And then once you, again, get to another corner, like so, you want to really push that out. And if you're having a hard time doing that, then again, take chopsticks, the eraser side to a pencil, something pointy, not sharp like a knife or scissors, you don't want to do that, but to kind of pull the edge out. So you're just pulling this through, and once you've got it all pulled through, then we'll be ready to iron. Okay, so I've gone through and I've right-sided it out, and it feels a bit bulgy, and it almost kind of looks like a little pillowcase of some sorts, but it's going to be great. It's going to look like a fantastic bread basket, and I'm just loving this fabric that I chose. Again, it's a nice thickness to it. It feels, I don't know, like linen napkins, even though it's probably a cotton polyester blend. My iron's warm. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of flatten it out, because it's kind of pillowy, it's a little fluffy because it's got a little bit of air to it. And obviously you can see here where the 3 inches that I didn't sew, where that's still open. And we're going to make it flat, and just kind of be careful on the sides that it's not overlapping too much. We want to use all of the bread basket, so you want it to kind of be as, I don't want to say open as much because it's maybe not the right term, but if it's overlapping so much, well then just kind of pull that out so you're making it as flat as possible. So you're going to iron that so it's nice and flat. And then obviously where you have the hole, this is going to kind of turn in. That's fine. You want it to kind of mesh with the rest of this, so it'll be easier to do a top stitch here when you're all done ironing. Now you've gone through and ironed it, and obviously did your top stitch here. You've got your 3 inches, all covered up. What you're going to do now is you are going to measure 3 inches this way and 3 inches this way. And what I went ahead and did is I put a pin there to show me. And again, it's great that I used a fabric that has a grid, because it's easy to kind of figure out where that 3 and 3 is going to be. And then I'm going to do the same thing in all the corners. You can't really see this one as well because it's a white tip, but I measured 3 and 3, and then I'm going to do that in these bottom corners. So you want to take out your measuring tape and go ahead and measure 3 inches by 3 inches. And again, if you're using maybe a dark fabric, something that doesn't have a grid, maybe you want to make a little T mark with a marking pencil. Sometimes I use colored pencils. It's fine, it washes out. to mark your spot. For me, it's easy because I have a grid to see where the line's going to be and where the line's going to be. So go ahead and measure your 3 inches by 3 inches in each corner. Once you've marked your 4 corners with 3 inches and 3 inches, and again with the grid, it's kind of nice because it just lines right up. What you're going to do is you're going to start at one of the pins. It doesn't matter which one. So say we'll start at this white one, which of course the one it's hard to see. And I am going to start at this dot, and I am going to sew all the way down to the bottom. Then I'm going, of course, I'm going to back stitch here, and I'm going to back stitch here, and then I'm going to cut my thread, and then I'm going to start at this one, and I'm going to back stitch, and I'm going to sew all the way down, and then again back stitch again, and then turn, and I'm going to start at this one, and I'm going to back stitch here, and I'm going to sew all the way down. And then you're going to do that until you've sewn all the way down on all 4 sides. Okay, so now you've gone through and you've sewn from your 3-inch line to your 3-inch line, starting here all the way down, then starting here and then all the way down, and you left a 3-inch gap all the way around, and that's good. Now, because that's going to help with this step. And what you're going to do is you're going to now just take the corners and meet them. So you want it to be nice and flush. So you're going to kind of pinch the corners. So you don't want it to be a weird overlapping. This is not going to look good when you're all done. So you really want to start from that corner and work your way out. And then once you've gotten it all the way down here is what I mean, then you're going to pin it. And I've actually already done that over here. So I put a couple pins, and I found the side where it has the sew line. This side is blank because you didn't sew from edge to edge. You sewed 3 inches to the edge. So this 3 inches is nice and blank. And so what we're going to do now is we are going to sew, back stitch here, sew all the way down here, and then back stitch again. And then you're going to do the same thing with all the other corners. So again, you know, match it up, make sure it's nice and flush all the way down. Find the side that has the sew mark, pin it, and then back stitch, sew all the way down, back stitch. And then when you're done sewing, you're done with your basket. So let's have a look at the finished product in just a second. Now my basket is all done because I sewed all the corners, and I put some apples in it just to give you an idea of how big it is at the end, and I have to say I am very pleased with it. It's holding up quite nicely. It's got some great shape. I mean, you take the apples out, it obviously is not caving in. Again, it's the way it's made, it's the fabric. It's fantastic. For us, we'd probably put some rolls in it. Maybe we would put some slices of bread. Again, you know, moving it around. This is obviously a rectangle. This is the size and shape that I was going for. If you wanted something that's a bit more square, then you would have to change your measurements to be equal. And if you wanted something bigger, again, you could follow my blog and go ahead and make the 16 by 16. But this is your finished product. Here's your bread basket. You're all done.